If money were the cure for life, every millionaire would sleep peacefully and every paid bill would trigger some kind of spiritual awakening. But that's not how it works. You pay off that overdue bill, breathe a little easier, almost feel like the financial king of your street, and a few hours later, the emptiness is back, sitting on the couch, staring at you like, that's it? Money is great at fixing practical problems. It buys food, keeps the internet on, puts a roof over your head, but it doesn't talk to that quiet feeling you get when you wake up not really knowing why. It handles noise outside, not the silence inside your head. The issue isn't a lack of money, it's a lack of meaning. Have you noticed how financial wins wear off fast? Payday hits, there's a rush, maybe a little celebration, message to someone, and the next morning life feels exactly the same. It's like ordering a massive meal when you are emotionally hungry. The first few bites feel amazing, then you are left with discomfort and that thought. Why did I do this? Because money fills cracks in walls, not cracks in identity. You can afford a great trip, upgrade your phone, drive a nicer car, but none of that answers the question that shows up in the shower and traffic right before sleep. What am I actually doing with my life? There's no loyalty program for clarity. Look around. You will always see someone hit a big material goal. New house, new car, big promotion. And a month later, they are still complaining about the same things, carrying the same frustration. The scenery changes, the inner script doesn't. The garage looks better, but the mind stays messy. And that's the trap. Chasing money, hoping it will fix anxiety, insecurity, messy relationships, that constant sense of falling short. Every raise feels like a quiet promise of happiness, but it also brings fear of losing it, pressure to keep up, endless comparison, and the stress of staying on top of the pedestal you built yourself. It's exhausting. Once money becomes your savior, every win turns into a short lived high. Today it's I made it. Tomorrow it's what's next? The excitement fades fast and the emptiness comes back louder. Maybe the adjustment isn't in your bank account, but in how you decide what matters. Money is a tool, not a compass. It buys comfort, not purpose. It can make life easier, but it can't tell you why you are living it. Use it well, pay your bills, invest, help when you can, build stability. Just don't expect it to heal something that only reflection, self awareness, and intentional choices can reach. Now think about this. What was the last non financial achievement that actually made you feel proud? If that question takes a while to answer, it might be time to rethink your internal priorities. In the end, what holds us up isn't a positive balance. It's lived moments, real connections, and decisions that still make sense when the noise fades. And that, unfortunately, doesn't accept transfers. Now open your phone. 2 minutes of scrolling and it looks like everyone on the planet is living better than you. Trips, great food, perfect bodies, constant smiles. It feels like you are stuck in the tutorial level of life while everyone else is already playing on hard mode. That's not an accident. That's the status treadmill working exactly as designed. Before, the race was about income. Now it's about attention. The prize isn't stability anymore, it's visibility. The more eyes on you, the more valuable life seems. The problem is that stage never closes. Picture this. You go to an event full of important people, nice lighting, loud music, everyone well dressed, phones in hand. You take photos, record clips, post them. For a few minutes, there's that little rush, likes climbing, comments rolling in. Then half an hour passes and the restlessness kicks in. Why did that other post do better? Should I have used a different angle, a different filter? And just like that, your mind is back in the machine. Keeping up that image isn't cheap. New phone, new clothes, subscriptions, editing tools, time spent curating a life that looks interesting. Every expense turns into an attempt to buy invisible approval, until one day the credit card screams, the anxiety shows up, and you realize you spent money, energy, and mental health trying to impress people who wouldn't help you move apartments. The price of status is peace. You trade calm for constant comparison. Someone travels, someone upgrades their car, someone lands a partnership. There's always someone ahead. The bar never stops moving, neither does the exhaustion, and it spills into real relationships. Messages from friends go unanswered because you are busy packaging your life. Deep conversations lose space to quick content. People turn into background characters in your personal branding project. Blaming the algorithm doesn't really work. We feed the system ourselves. Every like, every silent comparison, every moment of envy keeps it alive. When was the last time you did something meaningful without feeling the urge to post it? Even thinking about that feels uncomfortable. Life has turned into a 24/7 performance. There is a way out, and it doesn't require disappearing from the internet or living off grid. It starts with putting weight back where it belongs. Live moments without turning them into content. Drink coffee without framing a shot. Read without announcing it. Talk without recording. Do things because they matter, not because they prove something. And more than anything, build a kind of status that doesn't need an audience. Improve a skill, keep a promise to yourself, help someone quietly, finish a project you've been postponing. That creates internal respect no metric can replace. Next time you feel the urge to show something off, pause for a second. Ask yourself whether it will actually feed you or just give you a quick hit of validation. Switching from worship to awareness changes everything. In the end, filters don't sustain a life. What does is who you are when the screen goes dark. Everyone wants to win, to have their name circulating, a packed schedule, a title that sounds impressive, emails piling up like proof of importance. The promise is simple: get there and it will feel amazing. Sometimes it does, for a moment. Then comes a strange aftertaste. A quick relief, a subtle ego boost, followed by an uncomfortable pause, like something doesn't quite line up. Not physical tiredness, something deeper. That quiet thought: was this really it? The trap starts when success turns into a scoreboard. Targets hit, promotions secured, bonuses approved. Life becomes a dashboard. You push harder, climb faster, level up, without ever stopping to ask why you are running in the first place. You reach the top out of breath and realize the view doesn't speak to you. Without direction, every achievement echoes into empty space. What's the point of a shiny title if your days are just an endless loop of meetings that go nowhere? Why chase big contracts if you don't even have time to take care of your body, your mind, your life? I once heard a story about someone who exploded early in their career. Revenue doubled, awards rolled in, industry recognition everywhere. By his early 30s, he was completely burned out. He walked away, learned woodworking, and now builds custom furniture. Less money, slower pace, and real satisfaction. The bonus disappeared fast. The feeling of creating something tangible stayed. Purpose isn't a motivational slogan. It's what keeps the engine from overheating. And don't assume you are immune just because you enjoy what you do. If your sense of worth depends on recognition, being the best, the most visible, the most praised, the pressure still shows up. There is always someone faster, sharper, louder, more impressive. Comparison never ends. Neither does doubt. When your why depends on applause, it's fragile. The shift happens when you stop using other people's standards to measure your life. Success needs a definition that makes sense to you, not to your feed, not to your resume, not to a polished story. It might be writing something meaningful that barely anyone reads, finishing a personal challenge without applause, taking better care of your health, your relationships, your sanity. The value lives in the experience, not the spotlight. Once that clicks, even small wins carry a real weight. They represent consistency, not validation. Here's a simple exercise. Think of 3 achievements in your life that had nothing to do with money, titles, or status. Things that genuinely made you proud. If that list is hard to come up with, your internal compass might be tuned more to display than substance. Success without purpose is like smoke, visible for a second, gone the next. So it helps to unlearn part of that corporate manual obsessed with growth, scaling, accumulation. Set your own metrics. Maybe it's teaching something, learning a skill, building a personal project, changing direction entirely. What matters isn't the choice, it's that it's yours. At the end of the day, at the end of the day, a suit is just fabric. A title is just a label. What sustains a life is what gets you out of bed with intention and lets you sleep feeling aligned. Without that, success is just stress wearing a nicer outfit. Money is great at making life softer. It pays for good food, decent travel, a bed that doesn't ruin your back. It opens the door to comfort with ease. The problem starts when people assume that same card also swipes for integrity. It doesn't. You can have a beautiful living room and a moral mess inside, fly first class and still treat people as disposable. Luxury quiets the outside world, not the noise within. There is a familiar type, the person who donates large sums, films emotional speeches, looks generous on camera, while mistreating employees behind the scenes. Public kindness, private cruelty. The image grows, character stays stuck. Another version is the collector of useful people. Invitations based on status, time invested only where there's social return. Meanwhile, real friendships get ignored, service workers become invisible, genuine commitments are cancelled for strategic ones. Money turns into a filter for relationships instead of facilitator of connection. You've probably seen someone who vanished from old friendships after getting rich. Once shared cheap meals, now only answers calls if there is business involved. The balance increased, gratitude didn't. This isn't an attack on comfort. Comfort matters. It reduces suffering and gives you room to breathe. The danger shows up when comfort starts justifying small ethical shortcuts. Less respect, less empathy, a bigger ego, values put on standby. Some things don't go on sale. A useful check is imagining this. If everything you own disappeared tomorrow, would you still recognize yourself? If that question feels shaky, your identity might be learning more on possessions than on principles. That's when any financial hit turns into a personal crisis. One practical idea: treat character like a recurring investment. Put time, not money, into actions that don't earn applause. Help quietly. Listen without trying to impress. Do the right thing when no one's watching. Don't post about it. Let anonymity do the heavy lifting. That shapes who you are, not who you appear to be. In the end, money is transportation, not a destination. It helps you move, but it doesn't decide where you are going. Your real reputation is built in small, repeated choices. How you treat people who can't offer you anything. How you act when there's no reward. How you behave when no one's keeping score. Those details are worth more than any number on a statement. So enjoy comfort. Just don't outsource your conscience to it. Because when the balance hits zero, what remains is the trail of your actions, not your purchases. And that's what actually lasts. You finally win the financial game. Nice apartment, eye-catching car, access to places that once felt out of reach. On the outside, everything looks sorted, but when the house goes quiet and the screens turn off, that old discomfort is still there, tapping you on the shoulder. Here's the hard part. A higher balance doesn't heal emotional wounds. Old insecurities, unresolved rejection, that feeling of never being enough. None of that responds to money. Cash can numb things for a while, like a painkiller, but the root problem stays exactly where it was. That's why you see extremely wealthy people melting down over criticism, bad headlines, or a few negative comments online. It's not about money anymore. It's about constant validation, not more assets, more approval. A steady drip of reassurance to keep the ego standing. The wallet gets heavier, the self-esteem stays fragile. Try this. Think about the last time you felt obsessed with proving something to someone. An ex, a coworker, family, a rival that lives mostly in your head. Maybe you bought something expensive or made a flashy move just to show you'd made it. The victory didn't last long because the object was never the point. It was an emotional tug of war, and that fight never ends. There's always another person, another comparison, another ghost to beat. Money also has a way of inflating vanity. It starts innocently, then small impulses creep in. I need this item so no one thinks I'm falling behind. I need to be on that stage to command respect. I need my name on that list so I don't disappear. Each achievement boosts the ego and raises the dose required to feel satisfied. Like caffeine, the more you rely on it, the less it works. Once your ego takes the wheel, self-sabotage isn't far behind. Bad decisions to protect an image, risky moves driven by pride, relationships strained by control issues. Any disagreement feels like a threat. Eventually, the emotional bill shows up with interest no bank will dare charge. There is an antidote, but it's not glamorous. First, real inner work, not just feel-good content on weekends. Second, learning to laugh at yourself. Humor punctures the armor ego tries to polish. Third, practicing vulnerability without an audience. Share failures with people you trust, not for engagement. Fourth, keeping projects nobody sees. Journaling, learning, helping quietly, building something for its own sake. Those feed the soul, not the image. One more thing. Ego needs constant oxygen. Cut the dependency on external validation and it starts to deflate. What's left is who you are without the spotlight, without the numbers, without the costume. If you can accept that old version of yourself, you are already ahead of many powerful, deeply insecure people. Money can come and go. A settled ego supports a lifetime. Before chasing the next milestone, it's worth checking the motive: growth or an attempt to patch an old crack with expensive materials. If it's the second, a course correction helps. Getting rich isn't the issue. Letting ego run the account is. It will drain every cent and still ask for more. Now pay attention for a moment. How many times today did your mood shift because of a number on a screen? Balance, credit limit, bank notification, the price of something you didn't even need. Without noticing, we treat money like an invisible authority that dictates our emotions, decisions, even our sense of worth. It's become a modern deity, everywhere, shaping priorities, promising safety, demanding sacrifices. And like any idol, it charges a fee: time, health, relationships, mental clarity. This worship starts early. From childhood, the message is simple: study to earn well to live well. Almost no one explains what living well actually means. So we grow up trained to optimize spreadsheets, but lost when it comes to purpose. A spreadsheet never sends a birthday hug. Advertising reinforces the sermon all day long. Buy this and your life improves. Subscribe to that and happiness follows. The effect is brief. The rush fades fast. It's like trying to cure exhaustion with a 5-minute nap. You feel a spike, then crash harder. Think back to financial manias built on promise of salvation. People walking away from jobs, relationships, common sense, convinced numbers would solve everything. When reality hit, it wasn't just accounts that collapsed, it was identity. The issue was never the money itself, it was expecting numbers to fix an inner void. Money is neutral by nature. We are the ones who turn it into a savior, not out of greed, but out of a hunger for meaning. Looking inward takes effort. Buying something new is easier. Swiping a card feels simpler than facing uncomfortable questions. If you want to step off autopilot, a few shifts help. First, redefine money's role in your life. It's meant to support living, not to prove your value. When it becomes a measure of self-worth, that's a warning sign. Second, spend time and resources on things that produce no status. Simple hobbies, learning for pleasure, creating without an audience. That retrains satisfaction inward, not outward. Third, take conscious breaths from consumption and comparison. Days without buying, scrolling, or measuring yourself against others. Quiet lowers the volume of the constant sales pitch. Fourth, build invisible legacy. Teach someone, share knowledge freely, develop skills that don't turn into trophies. That strengthens identity without relying on big numbers. Whenever the urge for an upgrade shows up, pause and check the motive. Real need or an attempt to feel something deeper? When it's the second, spend usually makes the hole bigger. In the end, worshipping money is a choice, and every choice has a cost. The cult of consumption offers quick stimulation and quietly takes years of attention, presence, and clarity. You can keep treating your bank statement like a spiritual guide, or you can use the money for what it actually is: a useful tool, not a source of meaning. Because when things shake, and they always do, what hold isn't the balance. It's knowing your life is worth more than the sum of your paid bills. That's when you can look at the numbers calmly, not as a compass for your soul, but as they really are. And the reflection staring back doesn't need cashback to smile. If this video challenged you even a little, take a second and hit like. It helps the channel more than you think. And if you want more conversations like this, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.